Mind you, I worked a 10-hour shift and fed Willie the minute I got up to get ready for work, which was 11 to 12 hours ago. I asked Mark what he had been doing while I was at work. He just said he was out spending time with his brothers. I'm a very understanding and patient person. I was mad that Willie had gone so long without eating, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt since he hadn't seen his family in months. I let it go. A couple of days later, Mark mentioned he was going Christmas shopping with his brothers and wouldn't be able to take me lunch since he was going before their shifts. My brother-in-laws are 20 and 22 and haven't saved up for their own cars, so they had to use mine. We had a surprise meeting that day, which extended my lunch to a later time when Mark would be free. I called Mark and told him of my new lunch hour and asked if he could bring me a plate of food. Mark weirdly hesitated and said he had to feed Willie first since it was time for his second feeding. I suggested feeding Willie after he dropped off some lunch for me since my break was only for 1 hour and wouldn't have enough time to eat if he went back home first. Mark heavily insisted on feeding Willie first because he didn't want to upset me the way he did when he forgot to feed him a couple of days ago. I felt off. I love Willie very much, but I told him Willie was not going to starve from 5 hours of not eating. Mark suggested I just wait till the end of my shift to go eat after work. I was dumbfounded that Mark was being heavily hesitant about bringing me food, especially since he's in my car, and I haven't eaten since last night because I'm not much of a breakfast person. I was starving. What could be more important than buying a plate of food for your starving partner? I got upset and asked Mark what was really going on because he'd never missed a lunch date with me. Mark got loud and said I'm tripping and hung up on me. I called him back and all calls were rejected. He texted me saying he was going home and we could talk after work because he was tired from shopping. For petty reasons, I had a bag of chips on my desk that I refused to eat so he could hear my stomach growl when he picked me up later. I see him pull up to the front of my office building, and I calmly get into the car. The second we got home, I told him it was over and asked him to pack his things and leave. He calls me a crybaby and effing dramatic, and will regret breaking up. Is he right and am I just being extra for ending the relationship? Update: Mark packed his stuff and left. The next morning, I noticed he had left an old college jacket that belonged to his stepdad, which meant a lot to him, with a deep meaning behind it. I could have been petty and thrown it away but decided to text Mark and maybe even talk it out after a night of being away and letting things calm down. I texted Mark, "Hey, you left some clothes behind," and his response, "Wow, already crawling back. Throw it away, I don't want that poop," without even knowing it was the jacket. I left him to read and decided to text his mother to see if I could stop by and drop off the jacket. She said of course and told me to come by and pick up the gifts I'm assuming I wanted back. I came over and was immediately greeted by his mother and stepdad, who hugged me and asked if I was okay and needed to talk. I immediately broke down. I explained the situation and basically told the same story as I said here. His mother was pissed and decided to call Mark and ask for his side of the story but did not mention I was there to listen in on the call. Mark answered by saying that I called him at the time he was with Nick and Devin, his brothers, and told me that he couldn't leave them at the mall since he was the only one with transportation and immediately blew up on him for picking his brothers over me. I yelled, "That's not true," out of frustration, and showed my mother-in-law the call history which checked out at the time that both brothers were already clocked in for their shifts, which mother and father-in-law confirmed to be their shifts. One brother-in-law also shared a picture of him and some co-workers around the same time I asked him to bring me lunch. Mark hung up the call. My in-laws texted Mark and sided with me. I thanked them for the memories and love and left my engagement ring with them. Mark has called me repeatedly and sent text messages begging me to talk. After an hour, I finally answered and told him to tell me the truth, or this would be the final time we spoke. Mark admitted to seeing another woman, an ex, to be exact. I hung up and haven't answered since. I know it says that this all happened today, but took place 2 days ago. I had typed it out and left it as a draft since I cried myself to sleep and have been trying to keep it together.